Up to this point, we've been weaving on both sides of our loom, right? We're making the bag portion of our project, right? So this bottom part here, right? So you can see it's on both sides. Now, the last portion of the weaving is just to make this flap at the top. So notice that this is only connected to the back of the little bag, not on the front. And so therefore we need to do the flap on here, we need to just now weave on one side of our loom, okay? Not the whole way around. So to decide if you're done with the weaving portion, you're gonna measure and see how much you've woven so far for your weft, okay? So I'm gonna measure from, you know, the top right here, set my ruler down, and I have about 5¼ inches. And I would like for you guys to weave between 4 and 7 inches. So you can see it goes right to here, right? This line right here after the 5. So it's not quite at 5½, it's right here at this line, that's 5¼ So you can see I have the ruler lined up down here, so 5¼ So that's more than 4 inches and less than 7 inches. So again, between 4 and 7 inches is what I want you guys to weave to. And you can pick if you want to stop at 4 inches, or if you want to go the whole way to 7 and stop, or if you want to do somewhere in between like where I'm at right now. That is your choice, okay? So now at this point, I finished off this piece of yarn, so I'm going to cut this off and switch to my next color. You could go to the flap in the middle of a piece of yarn too. You don't have to finish with a piece of yarn. You know, whenever you feel like you're ready to go to that, you can. I'm just gonna tie on a new piece of yarn at this point, because that's kind of like just what I'm ready to do right now. And I'm gonna trim the ends, tie on my needle. Okay, so here's my yarn. I'm on this side right now, and I'm gonna keep weaving on this side like I have been for the whole project so far. The only change is, now I'm gonna pull my yarn through. Now, instead of flipping the loom over and continuing on the other side for the flap, I'm just gonna stay on this side. So now I'm gonna go backwards, okay? Now I still have to do the opposite of what I did last, so let's look close. I went over this warp string right here. See, I went over. So now as I go backwards through it, I'm gonna need to go under that one. So I'm gonna go under, over, under, over, under, over. Okay, I made it the whole way through. Now I'm gonna pull it back through on this side. And now here's one thing that you want to avoid. Notice that I left enough yarn for it to comfortably go across and then comfortably come back this way. I did not do this. See how all of my warp strings got cinched over like that? You absolutely do not want that, okay? That's this thing called draw-in, and then your flap will be too skinny for your bag, right? Notice on this one here, this bag, my flap is just as wide as my bag. It fits it really nicely. And if I had cinched in my warp strings the whole time, my flap would have been like real weird and tiny. It wouldn't look like it fit this. So you wanna make sure your warp strings stay in place. You never wanna yank the weft across. Okay, so now I'm back over here. The last thing that I did here is I went over. So it's almost like a typewriter. You're just gonna go back and forth and back and forth. So I'm gonna go back, over, under, this way. Pull the yarn across. Do not yank it. And then back again. Okay guys, so in terms of how much more do you weave for the flap, your flap should be about 2 inches. So if I look back at this one here, when this one was on my loom still, if I measured it, we want it to be about 2 inches. This one I went a little overboard. I went to like 2 3/4 inches, but I want you guys to stick to 2 inches for just the flap portion. So keep weaving back and forth, and you know, you can change colors and everything like you've been doing for the, you know, first part of the bag so far. Keep scrunching it down just on this one side. Remember, don't yank the warp strings in.